It's David here from Freedom Founders. I want to talk to you today about where we are in the economy and the marketplace. The economy since the Trump administration took office almost 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, November of 2016, January 1st, 17, into office. The economy has been on an uphill trend overall. Stock market, real estate market, the economy, unemployment's gone down. Overall, companies are expanding. We had the Tax Reform Act at the end of 2017, which has given more money to profits, which is being given out in many cases to employees. All that's good. In fact, the consumer confidence right now overall is great, which means people are buying things today. They're using credit. In fact, they're using credit too much. We're in many cases we're back to where we were back pre-2008 financial downturn, where consumer credit expansion is going up. In other words, they're expanding their credit lines into more debt today, and that's not so good. The problem is that there's such a disparity between the truly affluent, the really wealthy at the top, and kind of middle America, which has been really over the last 15 plus years, has getting squeezed. The real nominal rate of income, of net income over the last 20 years for the average American has been going down, has been actually going down. If you utilize inflation factors in place, it's gone down relative to the overall buying power. That's not good. Most Americans have very little actual net worth. In other words, as long as the economy is running, quote, perfectly, in other words, everything's running well, there's plenty of credit financing, people are employed, things keep moving forward. The problem is, we know that doesn't last forever. In fact, we've been on a long streak, very long. We're long in the tooth on this one. And I'm not a doomsdayer, but I'm saying that we will have a reset of some kind. How much, exactly when, no one knows. But when it happens, I do predict there's enough underlying fragility in our economic structure, with so much debt that this country has, with rising interest rates, which can take away consumer spending, which can cause the government to suck so much of the private capital just to pay the interest on the debt. So many things there. One black swan event anywhere in the global system today could be enough to trigger a downturn, a reset, a recession that could be very, very devastating, especially if you don't have liquidity. Liquidity meaning you don't have access to cash. You don't have cash, or you have access to cash. As long as you have access to cash, you've got good credit, and the banks are lending. Yeah, you can live to fight another day. But the problem is just what's happened in other downturns, when the credit markets, the financial institutions, have to clamp down because of their lack of liquidity. When the Fed and the Federal Reserve and the auditors say you need more capital, they have to pull back. They have to cut off lines of credit. Short-term borrowers who rely on lines of credit all of a sudden have to scramble for more liquidity. And if everybody's scrambling for the same thing and the pie's getting smaller, that affects all the marketplaces. So here's my point to you. I would seriously be looking at your liquidity. In other words, what's the cash flow margins in your business right now, and who are your primary buyers of your products or services? If it's vastly the middle America that you're serving and providing, I would be very, very careful, because middle America can be squashed in a heartbeat, squashed to the point where they're not going to utilize all but the absolute necessary services. I would be positioning myself, if I was in a business or a service today, for more affluent buyers. Now, not everybody can do that. But if you're one of those who's listening today and you are intentional about it, you can do that. Move to a more affluent market. Yeah, you've got to make some decisions here. You can't just keep doing what you've been doing and hope for the best. It's not going to happen. As middle America gets squeezed, their ability to continue to buy things will affect everybody. Their lack of credit, they get laid off from a job, so back to part-time. Lots of things can happen to squash what right now seems to be a pretty strong economy. So position yourself well. You yourself need to have liquidity. So we'll look at your debt lines right now. What do those look like? Do you have long-term fixed rate debt, which is serviceable for you as long as you're productive and you can keep the income coming in? That's probably okay debt. Are you using lines of credit, credit cards or commercial lines, business lines of credit? Those are all callable. Are you using commercial loans? Those are callable. In a downturn economy, even if you're making the payments on time, the banks can call those. And if you're a good borrower with a good track record, a good credit score, they come after you first. Meaning they come after you and say, we're calling your loan. We need you to refinance, pay us off, and go get your money somewhere else. Well, again, if everybody's doing the same thing and scrambling for access to credit, you're in a very no-win situation. So look at those things hard right now. Who's your primary customer? Are you dependent too much on middle America today? And what is your liquidity look like? Do you have reserves? Do you have access to non-institutional credit, private capital, which is a big thing we use in real estate, access to private capital. If you're not working those areas right now, you're probably putting yourself into a dangerous position. On the other hand, if you do position yourself correctly, when everybody else is running scared, there's blood in the streets, you survive, you actually will thrive. It's a decision you've got to make. And it's not easy to do when everything seems to be running right. That's the least of our worries, right? To reposition ourselves. But I promise you, do it now. You'll thank me later because things will turn. The cycles will drop down again. And either you'll be an opportunist who will do very well, or you'll be a victim. You decide. I'll see you next time. Remember, always stay focused on your freedom.